Hi everybody, I'm Andrew. I'm the MDO for Stony Brook West Campus. I just wanted to give a presentation, best place to stand here, on organizing for power. We kind of have been thinking a lot about this at Stony Brook because we just had our chapter election and we had kind of a very resounding victory, and we've been focusing on doing a lot of organizing since I became MDO about a little over a year ago. So just, I'm a professional in the computer science department there. So yeah, to start, I think it's really important that we talk about kind of overcoming apathy, because without organizing and strategy, there's not much that workers can expect. At the moment, our relationships are very transactional. I think unions can play a very big role in uniting workers around common goals and whatnot. Right now we find that people don't get much kind of from their job or their union or elected officials in communities. I mean, there's a reason we have non-members. They feel like they're not connected to the union. And I think as organizers, it's our job to fundamentally change this. And kind of a lot of kind of these ideas I get from this book, and as well as this book. Jane McLevy is a labor organizer. She's been in the labor movement for 15-20 years. She started in SUNY. She's organized in public sector workplaces and hospitals, so her work is very relevant, in my opinion, to what we're doing. So part of what she talks about is kind of raising expectations. And what goes with that is, this kind of notion that what should people expect from their job, their union, their elected officials in their community, and what kind of relationships can we build that would further our goals. And what are we capable of if we work together and come together to exercise power? So, we look at this chart here, and here's our member. They have all these connections with local businesses, with their neighbors, their family, their spouse or their partner, their faith community. These are all connections that we can have to reach our goals. We see that with Tom Tucker's report about the People Power Project. I don't know who read his report yet or not, but we have these connections in the community that can enable the work that we're trying to do. So when we have our next contract, we had that March 1st demonstration last year. Imagine if we had members who have connections to the faith community that would have maybe a priest, a rabbi, etc., to come and speak about why the members deserve a fair contract. Members from local civic association coming out. All these connections that we have in our community, it's really important, I think, for us to leverage them as much as possible. And it makes our members feel like that they have something to contribute. Fred talks in his report, and we've talked ad nauseum, Tom's talked about it, about this transition from a service union to an organizing union. And if we're really sincere in making that happen, it's on us just as much as it's on our leadership to talk about it as well. And this is how we can help. We could do it through department reps, and we have to get to know our members. And this ultimately can all be logged with mapping and charting, and I know that we're talking about that at some of the workshops at this DA. And as you can see, it spirals. It all connects. And then just to wrap up on this kind of theory stuff, so this is her other book. I just raised it up. That's Jane herself. She's kind of driven by this model of whole worker organizing. The benefits of which are these richer relationships, less intimidation and fear in the workplace, because that's the essence of solidarity and standing together, and developing collective solutions to collective problems. It's really important, I think, for all of these, if we want to talk about retaining our membership as well, and also these kind of notions of, that fit more with the service model, because, again, as Fred said, we do still have to uphold the service model as well. There's still very important work. If we want to keep our membership rate high, if we want to keep the finances of the union strong, and all these sorts of things. So, enter UUP Stony Brook. 2019 election. We had a very resounding victory. We won 6 out of the 7 officer positions. The one position we lost by 7 votes. We won 12 out of the 17 seats in the E-Board, 15 out of 17 when you count the endorsed candidates. And to the best of our knowledge, with active retirees who have been there from the start, this is the first time in the history of our chapter that we had a 100% contested election. And I say we, a bunch of us members came together to form the Coalition for Union Reform and Democracy. We wanted to bring reform to our chapter. We wanted to make it more democratic. So you can see here, you might not be able to see in the back, voter turnout. In 2017, we had 320 folks vote. 2019, we more than doubled that to 744 members. And our bargaining unit is 2,500 folks. So when you take out non-members, there's about 2,200 members that could have voted. 2017, we only had 5 academic delegates elected. We now have 26. And professional delegates, 2017, we had 16. Now we have 37. So, what this means for us is academics were previously very, very, very alienated from our chapter. And we kind of did something about that. Professionals were more involved, but we definitely had work to do there. So how did we do it?
Could you go back? I have
Sure.
a question.
Yes.
So what does that mean, coalition? What is the coalition?
So that was our slate, essentially. So we organized a, you could call it a coalition, you could call it a caucus, you could call it a slate, whatever you want it. A bunch of us members came together with, we developed points of unity, we developed a website, we had a 10-page strategic plan of the direction we wanted to move the chapter. So all the members that held these values near and dear and were committed to this vision of reforming our chapter, we called ourselves the Coalition for Union Reform and Democracy. So how do we do it? We kind of developed infographics like this with clear bullet points. These were disseminated digitally as well as handed out physically, social media, etc. We stood with our students on our campus. We asserted that our working conditions are their learning conditions. We had an organizing-oriented social movement model of unionism. We had a decentralized power structure. We had leaders, of course, such as myself, but we didn't have kind of a top-down authoritarian approach. We had all of our members of the coalition active, consulted, involved in the decision-making. And we were inspired to embrace the model that has worked for a lot of the labor movement in the last few years and really inspired our members to get out and vote and be engaged, which was this kind of bargaining for the common good. We moved beyond terms and conditions. We demanded more SUNY funding in our literature that we wrote. We talked about social issues that are impacting our members, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So key to this was intentional relationships. We were having those one-on-one conversations. We were having an 80-20, trying to listen more than talk kind of approach. We had group trainings on how to do this. We had mobilizers in as many departments as we could get. Mobilizers being essentially department reps, but specifically for our coalition. We had social events, happy hours, lunch get-togethers. We had a get-together to stuff envelopes, and believe it or not, social events never happened on our chapter previously, at least as long as I've been involved. Just membership meetings, that was it. So it was a great opportunity. Folks really connected with each other at our lunch get-togethers. We had happy hours after work.
So the social events, they didn't happen on campus, or they did happen?
Well, so we didn't want to kind of raise any controversy. So technically, this is a private hotel, which is located on campus, but it is a private hotel. It's not state property. So this was our envelope stuffing party. You can see our friend Chuck right there, and Mike Zweig and Judy. So leadership ID was really important to identify organic leaders. McLevy talks about that, how to do that. Organic leaders, some key traits are being seen as problem solvers in their department. Someone that folks go to if they have a problem in general or they have a question. They do not have to support the union. Don't rule people out if they don't support the union. That support can come in time if their expectations are raised and if we find a way to connect issues that are important to them to our union. And then step one for all this was map the departments. So we would talk to folks that got on board and say, great, you're interested, wonderful, join us. Do you know folks in anthropology? We don't have any connections there. And kind of go from there. It was important to try to find a role for everyone. Some people might be turned off by the MOI because they're not comfortable talking to people face to face. Some people might be completely overwhelmed by data work like spreadsheets, but there is a place for everyone. So we kind of figured people out. One-on-one conversations with strangers was something outgoing folks might be more interested in. Canvassing efforts, public speaking, etc. And shy folks can be involved with all this sorts of stuff. And I think it's important to remember that, leaders don't just have to speak publicly. You need leaders to coordinate all of that stuff like digital communication and data work and the like. So then, inclusivity was really important as well. Our chapter had a history of kind of alienating LGBTQ members, people of color, people who kind of weren't just, those who are in positions of privilege were seemingly the ones that got most of what they wanted, or they had to have known someone. So we made a great effort to try to change that and prefigure the values that we wanted to see out of our union. Something that was really important to us is it doesn't matter how long they've been a member. They could be equals from day one. If they signed the membership card last week or 30 years ago, their say is just as important. So with that, kind of striking down this insider baseball kind of stuff, explaining acronyms and exclusive jargon. Yes?
Forgive my ignorance, what's MOI?
In
the spirit of acronyms.
Yeah, exactly. So the Member Organizing Institute.
Okay.
Yeah. Accessibility was really important. Handicap ramps, handicap parking, utilizing microphones for folks who are hearing impaired is very important. And then diversity and inclusive language. When we think of diversity, it's not just racial diversity, it's also class, and that fits with exclusive jargon. Sometimes the verbiage we use is very exclusive to those folks who are highly educated and the like, but also LGBTQ diversity. So the use of pronouns, and have folks say them during introductions, and the use of brother and sister can alienate some LGBTQ folks who are gender non-binary. That was a continuous problem at our chapter previously, and we had NEOs, new employee orientations, as I catch myself, where brother and sister was used repeatedly, and we had departments where there was a lot of LGBT folks being onboarded, folks that feel like, well, I don't feel like I'm going to be valued in this union, so why should I give up 1% of my salary? So moving on. We had an effective communication campaign, so we developed these little infographics. This is one, and we tweeted out and posted this picture as well. So little quick snippets that, our vision, a snippet from Crystal's delegate statement, which was in length more on our website. We mailed our pamphlet and our letter to every single member that was eligible to vote. And just kind of tipping people off, hey, this is coming. We had buttons made. We made probably 300 of these, handed out to everyone who expressed an interest. We had little badges at our social events. So this one says, Lakshmi Ahmad, candidate for professional delegate. And then finally, again, that little trifold that we handed out as well, with the very important union bug at the bottom. So trying to reach everyone with as many ways as we can. We collected email addresses at events, so we hit people with the emails, the social media presence, the paper, as many ways, but and of course the one-on-one conversations.
Andrew, can I
Yes.
just ask a question? So this is all obviously in coordination with your campaign through the chapter elections. Although you're articulating a clear vision of where you wanted to take the chapter, I'm wondering how you're anticipating sort of rescaling or upscaling this as chapter materials.
Yeah. So
Beyond the campaign.
I'm gonna get to that. And actually,
Okay.
the next slide helps with that too. So we developed this kind of chart. So we argued this is how our chapter is currently functioning, and this is how we want the chapter to function. This being the strict service union model, and this being the organizing union approach that UUP's been talking about doing for a year, and some chapters are further along than others.
Years.
So we said this is how we're going to handle grievances. This is how we're going to view new members and members in general. This is how we're going to do organizing. This is how we want to change the members' view of the union. Our chapter had explicitly stated to all the members in our newsletters and email blasts, be a member. It's like a cheap insurance plan. And we know that how many of us are enthusiastic about our insurance policy? You know, we want our members to feel that UUP is essential to their lives and it's something that they are responsible for its success and its failure. Yes?
So the coalition's efforts obviously were you know, a campaigning sort of effort. Was there funding from your campus chapter to fund, you mentioned before, sending out promotion of coalition candidates?
No.
That was separate than Mallory's?
We did our own fundraising, and actually our chapter did not communicate about the election happening at all. So a lot of members that this letter they received, we would get emails, I didn't know there was an election even happening. And we sent this was timed to send about 3 or 4 days before ballots were received by all of y'all. Just quickly, you know, another kind of infographic thing that we developed with snippets from the officers' statements, and then the list of all of our professional and academic delegates. Another one of those infographics. Then we start to see expectations are being raised here. This is Liz, one of our academic delegate candidates, engaging in communication herself. So the member was moved to action to communicate about you know, the work that they're doing. You can see there's Liz's little infographic there. Yeah, so further evidence that we successfully raised expectations. We received this email from a retiree member, because we also mail to all of our retirees, saying essentially, I voted for you, I'm very excited. After many years as a UUP member at Stony Brook, this is the first time I've seen efforts of grassroots democracy. So we said, oh, this is really exciting, this is great. Let's use this as another effort for communication. And then we see Liz here. This is hard to read, but it says December 15th, 2018. We had met with Liz. She was excited. She says, this is great. I'll think about getting involved. So then our little outreach flyer here, she tweeted it and said, I couldn't be more excited about getting involved in this coalition. So then we look at this tweet from February 20th, 2019. She became very involved. She joined our strategic planning committee. She became a regular member at all of our meetings and events. And she says, the collaborative process of writing our strategic plan was one of my most fulfilling experiences at Stony Brook. I've met rad people from all across campus, 100% committed to the institution, public higher education, and a broad vision of social and economic justice. Read this document, send us ideas, and join the cause. Liz is an associate professor, so she's been at Stony Brook for almost 10 years now. And we were one of her most fulfilling experiences getting involved in this. That's really exciting. So where do we go from here? This is a picture of some of our delegates and officers who were elected at our celebration party. We don't have everybody there. But let me see here. Yeah, so where do we go from here? You know, we want to take these ideas to the chapter level. We want to really ramp up the visibility and the communication. So we want to have that kind of trifecta of print materials, digital materials, wearable materials. We want to see kind of more presence in the departments. We want the department reps to wear those buttons with pride. We want to create that member that actively engages and organizes with self-initiation without necessarily having to go to them and say, hey, do this, because that's an active member. We want to have reading groups over the summer in our chapter where we read books like this and workshop ideas and learn together. We want to expand the department rep system further. You know, we need those member organizers, so, you know, GOER can't come to us and say, you know, oh, you have to stay out of the workplace, because they can't kick the members out of the workplace because we work there. And we know that, you know, the ultimate goal of the organizing department and the campus organizers is, you know, to essentially organize themselves out of a job, which of course is impossible, because there's always going to be organizing that has to be done, but to get the members to do the organizing. And then rebuild our committee structure. So this is just some of the bulletin boards that have been kind of popping up since I've been MDO. I've been trying to push the more visibility in the department. So for those of you who don't know, it's in the contract that bulletin boards are allowed in every department. I have that contract verbiage on a flyer over here with kind of the tips that have helped us achieve these bulletin boards in departments. And then, yeah, so kind of more on the where do we go from here. You know, I we see that the labor movement is really surging right now. You know, we know what happened at Rutgers. They got an incredible contract. In the first time in their 50-year history, they won equal pay and equal work for female faculty, faculty of color, and faculty across all their campuses. And you know, we have heard before that, you know, maybe millennials aren't really interested in unions. They didn't come from union families. They don't get unions. There's been a lot of press about, you know, millennials are keeping unions alive, and can they save unions in America? And millennials are really feeling the unions are really feeling the fields for unions. Workers under 35 are outpacing every other group. Unions enjoy youthful surge. So for those of you who aren't millennials and chapter leaders and such, I encourage you to reach out to millennials in your departments and utilize that 80-20 strategy because we do want to get involved. We do want to kind of help shape up the chapter. And the kind of founding of our coalition kind of stemmed from millennials like myself feeling like we weren't valued by our chapter and being actively pushed out. And you know, we tried to work within, but eventually we had to do something, and here we are. Because ultimately we have to earn the respect of our members and their interest. You know, Fred talked about 61% of new hires in his report. Only 61% of new hires are signing that membership card. And it's a tough sell for people when, especially you live in an expensive area like where my chapter is. The cost of housing is very high for new members, and they come in and they're earning, you know, salaries that aren't necessarily as competitive, and they have to deal with that, and location pay helps, but at the end of the day, you have to convince them to give up 1% of their salary. So how can we do that? You know, we have to make the union feel like something that they can get involved in and have a say in. And then finally, you know, I feel like we need to embrace our fellow higher education unions. So this is from a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Our local graduate student employees union had a demonstration against mandatory fees. They're required to pay a technology fee, a parking fee, and all sorts of things, services they don't even necessarily use. And it comes to basically a paycheck per semester for them that they just have to hand back. So it's arguably wage theft. So they had a huge demonstration, 300-400 people, tons of press there, and we had a small UUP contingent. We had some help from our friends at the HSC chapter getting their banner, and we turned out. And it was really great. They were really grateful. We had about 24 hours to try to mobilize people. We got 60 members to come out and stand with them. And it really kind of speaks to the students in the campus community that UUP is interested in something bigger. So just to summarize, you know, what we did, you know, the statement, this is what democracy looks like, member-driven unionism. We had common yet diverse goals and tactics. We found a place for everyone and their niche to remain involved. We broke the apathy of many members and activated them. Reach out and listen. The reaching out is really important, but more important is the listening. That we have to send the message that UUP is the place that they could work on these issues important to them. And that is primarily through our committees and such. And then ask them what they would like to see UUP do, and then just do it. There's a place for a lot of their issues, and it can be done through the committees. So we're going to be bringing these ideas to our campus come June 1st. We're going to be working closely with the HSC chapter across the street as well to collaborate and kind of send this vision of one union and one kind of union of workers, regardless of their home union, to really kind of try to break the apathy across our whole campus, because our campus is not in good shape right now. The president has the president of the campus has an austerity agenda, and we're finally rising to fight back. So I encourage you to follow along. We're going to be taking our social media presence to the chapter now and kind of trying to show everything that we're doing. And yeah, if folks have any questions, you can email me. You know, I'm on the membership committee email group, of course. You could get my email there. You could write it down now, andrew.uupsbu@gmail. And I'd be happy to help you. And I definitely want to share these ideas with this committee and get this committee more involved in more kind of member-driven organizing and working with our organizing department. That's all. Thank you.